I think we're live now. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Cool. Hi, whoever's here. Uh, this is a live stream. So, this is my first time doing this. And I just have to give props to Mary and Spurgeon for inviting me on one such live stream over the weekend. And I liked this software. So, that is what has inspired this conversation. And I'm here with my friend Matt Dickson, who is the person that I go to with all of my conversational quandaries, to the extent that I think he should get paid for this, to help people word stuff in the best, most concise and clear and direct way. So anyway, Matt, if you'd like to introduce yourself and what you do other than help me in conversation.
I agree. I should get paid for that. I hadn't thought about that. Okay, I'm Matt Dickson, and I'm a personal trainer and hypnotist and coach, and a yoga teacher as well. Yeah, to me, they're all the same. Kind of, they all come into the same thing. It's all change work, healing, that type of thing. So, I'm so happy to be here, Desiree. I can't believe I'm your first. You're going to be so big and famous someday. And well, probably me too, but you'll be so way before me. So
let's knock on some wood. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you're my first. Also, it makes sense because we have conversations like this all the time. And I had a few interactions in the last several weeks, months that made me want to have this conversation with you specifically. So I'm really glad that you're up for it. And to anyone, I see we have 5 people watching. So you can leave comments, I think, and questions, and we can actually answer them. So that's cool. But meanwhile, I wanted to start this by telling a story that from a personal experience, and then we'll unpack it. So basically, several weeks ago, I was just walking my dog. It was between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning on my street, and leaving the bodega, or the deli, as some people call it, was this person who exited with a bag of stuff. And they just saw my dog Molly right away and knelt down and was playing with her and petting her. And it was so sweet. I loved it. It was just such a nice way to start the day. And then this person and I end up talking, and we're walking in the same direction. And in conversation, we discover that they had just moved here. And I kind of just moved here too. And we both were kind of saying we don't have a lot of friends in the area. And I will just say my initial judgment of this person was that I presumed that they were a gay man. And those are my people. And so I initially really did feel comfortable with them because of that assumption I had made. So as we're walking, we're talking. And then this person asked me, oh, would you like to hang out sometime? Like, let me get your number. And I didn't have my phone on me. So I gave them my number, which is something I don't do very much. But like I said, I had that trust factor. So I gave them my number. And then right away, he says,
you have good instinct too.
Yeah. Right away, he says, I promise I'm not hitting on you or anything, but you just seem like a really cool person to hang out with. And in that moment, I just felt this stab of regret. And I looked down and saw immediately what they had bought at the deli was a 4-pack of white wine mini bottles at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning. And so, what happened there? So that's the end of the story. But there's some interesting things that happened there, that started with this sense of trust that I kind of thought that I knew what this person was about. But then why did things turn when they said, I promise I'm not hitting on you? All of a sudden, my whole nervous system was filled with this uncomfortable information that was informed by my past experience, my memories. And then I noticed something that I didn't notice before, which was the shopping bag filled with white wine at 8 o'clock in the morning. So this is the kind of thing that I kind of wanted to talk about. It's called the ironic process theory, or ironic rebound, which is that this person was trying to make me comfortable and giving them my number by saying, I promise I'm not hitting on you. But instead, I felt all the discomfort of that feeling of being hit on and the history of regretting giving my phone number to someone, so it's like a sacred thing, your phone number. So anyway, I think that that's like an interesting story, and there's so much to unpack in that. And I just wondered your take on that, that idea of like, we're always creating images that create sensory, that, filtered through our past and our perceptions that flood the nervous system and, might just instantly make you feel a little bit off with someone who had good intentions.
So like the term hitting on, I could see, I mean, that could be a loaded term. And I mean, thank God he didn't say he wasn't going to send you anything. We'll
talk about that one in
well, okay. So I wonder, I wonder if he caught your physiology when he said that. And then I can imagine when he did, I wonder if he had the presence of mind to catch it and then think like, oh crap, I blew it. Because the one phrase, the one thing he said that you didn't like, just completely changed the whole filter that you saw him through. And then, you saw those white wine bottles at 9 or 10 in the morning, whenever it was. Like if you were still feeling good about the interaction, you may have thought like, oh, those must be for he's having friends over tonight or something, and just pick them up, But I can see him wanting to not make himself threatening, and maybe he should have said something like, I hope I'm not being too forward, or something like that, or I hope I'm not being presumptuous. The thing about hitting on, that can mean, to him, it probably just meant like, I hope you don't think I'm only after just one thing. And then,
yeah.
So
the interesting thing about that is like, he had totally good intentions, and, I'm thankful. And that's why I'm thankful to be a hypnotist and to know these kinds of things and be aware of my perceptions and my filters that are through my past, because I can kind of, you can come in between them. You can actually or sometimes I see these situations and like almost dissociated, where I'm understanding like what's happening. And I think it's really cool to kind of unravel it. It just makes the world a better place. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because a lot of times people don't know, and they are listening to their gut, their intuition, but it is filtered through the past quite often. So when we can kind of understand that this person had good intentions, I mean, this person and I, we didn't have a ton of rapport. We had a 10-minute stretch of conversation walking down the street, but but for someone who you are like in a relationship with, you can start to maybe understand that your brain cannot help but generate the images of the things that people are saying. So when you're saying that you're not going to do something, or I promise I'm not doing this, we still hear the doing this. And that is just such an important part of like knowing how the brain works, and to better, inform our goal setting, even as, non-hypnotists, like civilians, like to understand. I used to lead workshops in New York a lot, like in person. When I first became a hypnotist, I loved doing self-hypnosis workshops, and I would have people write goal statements, and I would ask for them, if they didn't want to share them with the group, please share them with me, because I noticed that people can't, it's very, very hard for them to not write, like they want to write things like, I will not do this, or I'll stop doing this. But we have to flip it and find the thing that, we want to create the new imagery for the mind, and open them up to the associations that those new images have. Maybe it's things that they associate with other people, and they don't realize that they can have that too. And that's why it's important to make new images and introduce this kind of novelty in the brain and in the mind. So I think of the term, the kind of metaphorical saying, rubbing someone the wrong way. When somebody does that and we say that they rubbed me the wrong way, we don't know what it was usually. It's just the feeling that we have. And quite often it could be something that they said with good intentions that made you feel a little bit off because of your past experience. So I'm going to tell another story, and Matt knows this one. We have some comments.
Yeah, so Don and Callie.
Yeah, we can put that. And you didn't think him hitting on you was even a possibility. He just made it a possibility. Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't, I thought it was actually impossible. I thought I had a new friend. And then all of a sudden I was just like, oh, Jennifer Thompson here. This is awesome. This is so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, these are those things that they can be considered sometimes red flags. Okay. So I have another one that that I did tell Matt. And this is where it gets a little bit PG-13. And I'm going to use a term that I don't have an alternative for it. But I was talking to another, unfortunately, this is directed mostly at people who identify as male. And so I'm sorry, but these are the best examples I have. And I just think it's so interesting to talk about so we can be better communicators and we can actually help people feel more comfortable. Okay, so I was
spit it out. You can do it.
Okay, I'm meeting this person who is a guy and talking, and it seems good. They're from New York, we have that in common. And then they ask for my number, and as I'm actually about to give this person my number again, they say, "I promise I won't send you dick pics or anything." And in that moment, I couldn't give them my number. And I just had to say, I said, "I'm so sorry. Like, I'm a hypnotist, and let me just give you a little piece of information that will serve you well in your future. Don't ever, my brain couldn't help but conjure up a sick montage that really, like, I can't give you my number. My body won't let me do it. I'm really sorry." And he was like, "Oh, wow. Well, I didn't think the word dick pics would necessitate EMDR therapy." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're not a woman who has ever given out her number in the past. So, okay." But again, him and I, we didn't have some established rapport. I could have given him the benefit of the doubt because he was trying to make me feel comfortable to give him my number, except he said something that conjured up all this images and anxiety in my body, and just a really horrible visual. So again, so that's
the reason. Okay, just so everyone knows who's watching this, who doesn't know us and our report, I was laughing because I know you were dying inside. So as a friend, that made me laugh. I wasn't laughing at the the thought of you thinking about getting. Okay, so go on.
Well, no,
I don't think those are funny. So,
what?
I don't think dick pics are funny.
No, it's actually like a type of kind of ocular assault, honestly, unprompted. So anyway, I think the conversation that I was hoping to have is like about these people who are intending to make you feel comfortable. And we do this often. You were always wanting, we're unconsciously wanting to make people feel comfortable. That is the default state of trust. In evolutionary biology and psychology, that is our default state is to actually want to kind of come to understanding with fellow humans and get on the same page. So all of that has really good intentions. And we love you, Dawn, too. Thank you. So yeah, I think it's just interesting because that is that good-natured thing. They're trying to make someone feel comfortable, and we might be doing this too. So I think it's a good thing to know about when you say, "I promise I'm not going to do this," or or "It's not like this." You're actually making it like this. So, and another thing I think of is what our mentor, Lori Hammond, teaches us. So thank you, Callie. Oh, I don't know who that is, but that's a nice. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. So, what our mentor, Lori Hammond, one of the little things, and it's so subtle, but it's so important. What she teaches us is that, when you have people signing up for your emails, most of the time it'll say something like, "I won't spam you." And she teaches us the opposite because of this ironic processing theory, this ironic rebound that our brain is actually, because that is a filter for me. When I see like the spam and I realize I have to check and I'm signing up to get emails when I still have all these unread emails. Like I just won't follow through, and I usually won't click, and then I'll just not get the lead magnet, and I will not be on their email list because it's too much. But so Lori teaches us to say, instead of like, I promise I won't spam you, she says, I promise I'll be like, kind with your email address or respectful of your email address or something. And you can unsubscribe at any time. And that's such a nicer way of communicating that point. Oh, is that Charles? That must be
Charles. Hey, Charles. Well, because
yes.
the second you say spam, and then you might, if you're looking at your phone, you're getting, oh yeah, spam. Nah, just like you did. You're like, nope, yeah. Sorry. And then how funny or how weird would it be if, when you say, if you look and say, oh no, not spam, and then words come on the screen that say something like, oh, what, I can't say spam? It's like just saying again, like this guy did. And then, in my first hypnosis training, our trainer, Ryan Simmons, I think it's Simmons, but he said when he ran a karaoke night, he set this whole thing up as just be careful what you say, because it creates images in people's heads. And he said, you'd be surprised how many times people say, this is my favorite song to sing in the shower. And then I just start thinking of them in the shower. He says, so he said, when you're talking to somebody, when you're having with a potential client, just be careful what you say, this to not, and he did even say, don't say, I'm not gonna, because it just makes a person think, oh, you're gonna what? And so.
Yeah. And it's totally like unconscious is a thing. It like makes us uncomfortable, and we're not like logically thinking, oh, now they're going to do that. But it's like this uncomfortable feeling in our body, like with the email, like that. When I see the word spam, I'm literally just thinking of how many emails I haven't written back to, how many Facebook and Instagram messages I haven't written back to, and all the ones that I haven't even opened yet. And I just feel instant overwhelm. And so it's interesting because, the person speaking is doing it unconsciously, and the person, perceiving it's all happening unconsciously. Speaking is unconscious. Speaking is like, it's totally subconscious. It's just coming out. I'm not logically choosing the words. And we're not choosing how we perceive them either. But when we know how this actually happens, the ironic rebound or the ironic process that we're making those pictures, and the pictures, the thoughts in our mind create the feelings, and then that sends the little chemical messengers that feel, you feel the overwhelm in your body, or that stab of regret. Why did I just give my number? So it's important to know this so we can kind of be better communicators, I think, especially when people, those were strangers to me. We didn't have rapport, but when it is people in your life, you can kind of get in between there and start to understand maybe what happened. And in this case, give the benefit of the doubt. Matt and I had a conversation several weeks ago about like, I don't give the benefit of the doubt. I was just like, because that's like giving power away. But there are some cases where it's warranted. Otherwise, I give people passes. But giving the benefit of the doubt in this case, when we, our perceptions are involved and it's totally unconscious, and it's just through our past, and we can kind of just start to get to know that in everyday conversation a little.
And the other thing too, Desiree, is like, if we're thinking about like spam, so the second you see spam, then at the very, even if that person isn't going to spam you, at the very least, that person identifies with that group. You know that they are kind of one of them.
They're capable of spam, but they're not good.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's so good. And then so this guy, this well-meaning guy, says that. He says, I'm not going to send you a dick pic. I was like, why? He says it twice. And then as if to say, just to make sure, like, I'm not going to send you one, and you don't want to be, you wouldn't want anything to do with a guy that would do that anyway, so, but I have a question for you. Okay. So this guy, you felt like he had good intentions. It was just, okay. So he clearly, doesn't have enough, I guess women in his life, or he doesn't have enough female conversation to know that, okay, so bad he says it twice. So is there anything he could have said or done that would have mitigated that?
Yeah. You know what? If he said something like, "Oh, that's really interesting. I never thought of that before," but instead he had the wise ass remark of, "I didn't think that term would necessitate EMDR therapy," and that was the end of it. So he doubled down on the ridiculousness of it. But so yeah. Yeah, but we didn't, like I said, if we had more rapport and there was more there, maybe even with that, I could have, understood better his, I like dry sense of humor, but yeah, we didn't have there wasn't enough there but if it were someone in my life, if it were someone like you and I have had some interesting conversational things, sometimes, and we kind of can work through it because we both have this interest. And I think really knowing how our minds work is so important to be good communicators. And that's why I think hypnosis is a life skill and everyone needs it.
Yeah. And also, like, we talk about intention all the time. So if, so you could see that his intention was good. And probably, like, I didn't, okay. So I forgot the part where he said, I didn't realize you were going to need EMDR or so that's a big thing, because not only did he destroy the rapport, he buried it and assured that it would never be found again because he insulted you. And so, like, if his intention was really, like, I bet you, like, if he read your body language and then you saw his body language, like, oh, like, if you saw genuine regret that he offended, hurt, or threatened, or genuine regret, that what he said caused some kind of harm, and I okay, so, and if he stumbled through it like in a comedy movie where somebody just digs themselves deeper, but if you saw his physiology, like, he's really trying, would he have had a shot at getting your rapport back?
Probably not, just because of where I am in life. And honestly, I think being a hypnotist, you feel really, like, I feel very affirmed in my intuition, because I think hypnosis just helps you. It doesn't mean enough to me to be connected to someone, unless I have a feeling like I really need to be. So I didn't feel that with him. I thought it could be a friend situation, but I didn't feel like there was anything, I didn't have, I could take him or leave him. So
Got it.
In that kind of situation. But, when you do have more history with someone, or you have this feeling that, I think it's important to know why people just sometimes turn you off. Why did you just get turned off or rubbed the wrong way? I think it's good to start to question that, because we are seeing everything through our, perceptual filters, and just start to, wonder and be curious as to why and what that is, when now that your brain is always making pictures and feelings and thoughts from other people's words, and it's like we're kind of always in a little bit of hypnosis with other people. There are, like, the people we talk to or listen to are our hypnotists in the world in waking time, really. So we don't always realize that, but somebody can just say something that gives you this instant anxiety, and you might not know why. But kind of being aware of this can bring you to a place where you might start to question that and understand why.
That's getting even deeper, just trusting your intuition.
Yeah.
When you said instant things break rapport off the bat. Yep. And if you have not context in a relationship, yep. Context is so much. Do you remember? I don't know. I don't know. This might be slightly before your time because it's almost before my time. So it's a Bugs Bunny cartoon where uh where Bugs Bunny gets like I don't know, they pick him up hitchhiking or something, but there are two bank robbers, and they go to this hideout house, and then the cops show up, and so Bugs Bunny goes, oh, hide in the stove. So he gets the two bank robbers to hide in the stove, and then the cop comes in and he's like, all right, Rabbit, where are you hiding Muggsy? And then he goes, he's not in his stove, like that. He goes, oh, he's hiding in the stove, eh? And then it's a whole big thing where he turns the gas on and throws a match in it. But it's Bugs Bunny is insanely violent. But like, what?
It sounds. Who's Bugs Bunny? I'm just kidding.
That's like it's my worst nightmare. I was like I'm only 10 years older than you. How's that possible?
I was just kidding. Yeah, that's a great example though, because that's like in that instance, his perception, he was focused on the thing that it wasn't, because that's what, something that he knew, but the other people don't know. That's like the telltale heart, it's like, it's this thing that that you think, because you are aware of it, that, you assume that others are too. So you have to try to hide it away. And yeah, that's a great example, because we do things like that too a lot. And yeah, I like that. And that's where I think a lot of the, there's a lot of like red flags with people who like make these blanket statements, like, I promise I'll never do this, or I'll never do that. It's like, yeah, never say never kind of thing. And everything is in context to but those people who make those kind of blanket statements, almost like I did when I say I never give the benefit of the doubt. I didn't say never though, but I said it's rare. But in this, this is a situation, these conversational ones, where, especially when you have history and rapport with people, you want to kind of get in there and see what could have happened.
The reason that I asked if you if there's any way back for this guy, like if he had explained himself or something, is because there's been conversations that you and I have had, and benefit of the doubt's a good one, because to me it meant something completely different. And but there's been a number of times, like where I've said, I'm not clear. Like I can see I can see this is bringing something up for you. I'm not clear. Would you help me understand what this is? You know what I mean? And it's really like it's helped us communicate, because hasn't it? Yeah. And I my first yoga teacher, I'm about to say I tell a story all the time, but I gotta stop saying that. But my first yoga teacher was or is, I assume she still is the kind of feminist that she checked my language constantly, my patriarchal language, which I didn't even know what that meant, and so if I couldn't say, like, I said, oh man, that's a bitch, huh? And then she would, right. Yeah. And so she would just shut down, and, or she would lecture me, or she'd certainly correct me. Something happened. But the thing is, I'm so thankful to her for caring enough about our friendship, our relationship, or whatever it was, I would say, to educate me, or to at least tell me about it, so that I had a chance to do different. And it was so challenging too, Desiree, because I couldn't even say girl. I couldn't say girl if woman was appropriate. I'm talking about a grown woman, I couldn't say girl, and I couldn't say I don't really even talk like this so much anymore because because of the, but I can't think of another example, but girl is hard because you can say, hey girls, no. And then so a lot of this stuff I thought was, well, at the time, I was kind of a chimpanzee back then. So I thought it was kind of dumb. I was like, what do you mean I can't say girl? But all I knew was that if I wanted to be effective when I communicated with her, then I had to not, I had to talk in a way that she would understand me, or rather, that she would receive. And a person will only work to let you dig yourself out of a hole so many times before they're just going to be, before she's just going to say, this isn't worth it. I'm tired of explaining why, I don't want him to, to talk like that or to say those words or why they're harmful. And he, and rather than to say like, oh, what, I can't say girl, or oh, that's dumb, or no, what I meant was and maybe I did do that once, but I don't know, I don't think so. She was very serious with that. But so this is the interesting thing. When I started talking like that, with, watching my language with her, it started to change the way that I was thinking. And then I began to see certain things like, so, 10 years ago, I would have been able to acknowledge that you hearing dick pic was unpleasant, but I would not have I would not have made the connection that, it could have represented a dangerous situation for you. Because, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine who, to my knowledge, has no female friends, but he figured this out all on his own. He said, oh yeah, women are scared. They're, I make them nervous because I'm big, and that's what I thinking a certain way, being conscious of what you're about to say, but talking a certain way is also, it's also probably another, like almost like a form of self-hypnosis, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because it radically changed not only how I spoke, but how I thought. And if it wasn't for Stella, my original yoga teacher, then you and I probably wouldn't be friends.
Yeah. Thank you, Stella.
Yeah, you would have given up on me, or we wouldn't have gotten very, very far, because who knows what I would have said.
Yeah, well, it's so true. If speaking is subconscious, then changing the way we speak is actually going to change us subconsciously going forward. And it's a good point, that somebody takes the time to teach you or to at least enlighten you. And then if you choose to care enough, then you can. And that's what makes the friendship, because or the relationship, whatever it is, the acquaintanceship even. Our self-awareness actually allows us to be able to teach people, allows us to have better boundaries and actually experience life better, because people, through, again, that default state of trust, which is this thing that I always invoke, is like, that is our default state as humans. Like, we don't always realize that, and it doesn't always seem like that. The world can feel and seem really polarized. It sure looks that way, but our true nature is to be in trust with each other and to want to come to an understanding. And if we can just remember that, I think like the world would be such a better place. So our own self-awareness of our past and how that is always informing our automatic reactions, then, we are able to teach people. And if they feel the same way about us and they're in trust with us, then they will, accommodate our feelings and they want to make us feel comfortable. So I think that's awesome. By us just knowing ourselves can allow us to experience life better ultimately. And yeah.
I think Dawn said something really nice. She stuck with you because you're teachable, Matt. Oh. So I think Charles said, unfortunately, I'm pretty good at breaking rapport with people closest to me. This is great. Charles, I've broken rapport so many times. Okay. So can I address this? Like what Charles said? Okay. So, generally speaking, I have a little bit of a problem with a filter, generally speaking. And so I've blurted stuff out so many times. And this is partially why, like why I was asking you, Desiree, about, walking back from it. When you, this is what I do. I don't want to project, Charles, because I don't know like if you're asking anything or not. But what I always do is I call it like falling on my sword, so to speak. So if I offend somebody with something I think is kind of funny or edgy, and actually, like so. I don't take the chances I used to, but like the term "hit on," and if you think about it, if you deconstruct it, it hit means to hit. It's violent,
It's very caveman. It's like the club over the head kind of thing, dragged back to the cave.
And that was okay. So when I was growing up, that was actually funny. So I mean, you would see that in commercials, and so. I guarantee you, most men don't think of it as a violent, phrase. But most men don't go through life feeling, vulnerable to attack, And so, what I would find myself, what I would always do is, I would always get like a body language. I got to make myself a little bit smaller, and just to remove like any physicality from it. And then, and if I wasn't sure what I'd say, I'd always say, I feel like I've said something, and I don't want, and I generally, if I say, wrong is not even a good word to say, because wrong implies that the person's correcting you or something. But like, I'll say, I feel like I said something that, that maybe you didn't like, and I didn't, can you tell me, it's important to me to know what it is so that I don't say it again. Because may I, and I'm reliving doing all this now, which is why I'm stammering. And then so like the stammering maybe sometimes communicates like, oh, like this person's really sorry. And almost many times I'll get a chance to walk it back. And then it's like, well, when you said hit on, that sounds like blah, blah, blah. I haven't used that term in 25 years. But it's one we're using now. So I say, okay, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. I didn't, that never occurred to me. And I can see why you think that way because of, whatever, you told me, and I'm really, really sorry. And that will almost always, get me a second chance to bring back rapport. But the last thing that ever works is to argue with it. It's just like we're taught, never argue with someone's model of the world, because that's just telling somebody they're wrong. It's like, well, you're wrong to think that because I thought this, because I didn't mean that. So what's your problem? That's just going to make it worse. So kind of rambled. I don't know if that helped or not.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Also kind of something that you touched on with the idea, which I wasn't expecting to go in this direction, but we've had these conversations before. But like with like, women sometimes feeling unsafe. It is sometimes conversationally is not always safe, as because of my personal history too, like to even politely reject someone sometimes. And that's why, there's so much shit talking about ghosting and stuff, but honestly, like, I think it feels really safe to do that sometimes, and to just disappear and never have to, because it isn't always safe to
this is such a good example, because I think it's literally the worst thing you can do to somebody.
Yeah.
Up until you told me that, and now that it was just enough to make me go, oh, that's totally softened that. Wow, what a good example.
Yeah. So I don't know, anything else that you'd like to add on when we talk about these kinds of things, and the idea that we're always kind of, I don't know, we're always in hypnosis with the people in our lives, and we're always kind of responding to their words, which create the mental imagery totally unconsciously. We're not aware of the movies and the thoughts and the soundtracks playing in our mind that communicate all throughout our nervous system and send chemical like cascades throughout us. We're not aware of that, but we can be more aware of it. And I don't know, anything else you want to say about that, how we're making people feel when we talk in conversation?
Not as eloquently as you did, so I don't think I have anything to add that sounds. I just feel so invisible right now. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Matt is he's so good with words that, like, I will often send him like an email or a screenshot. How do I respond to this? And he'll tell me, and he'll give me lots of ideas. And I'm able to actually use those to make, use my own words then. And it's awesome. So we could end, this has really opened my eyes to things that I do to break rapport with my kids, things that I might have defended when Dawn pointed them out. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thanks, Charles.
Yeah.
So I did think about something, and I don't remember where I heard this, but it was something along the lines of someone saying, do you want to be right, or do you want to be effective? And and then there's that that can kind of fall into, like, the married guy humor thing, where the I have a client who is he's in his he's old enough to know this lesson. I just want to say that because I don't, but he wouldn't care, but I'm not going to risk it. But he outright says, no, I let her do whatever she wants. If she says, I'm in the garden today, I'm in the garden. If she doesn't like my shoes, I change my shoes. This guy's in his 70s. So it's the path of least resistance. And it doesn't necessarily mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, you want to be, you can always ask yourself, like, what's your intention? Like, what's the goal of the interaction? Is it to be right? Which I think that only works in a court of law when someone, and really it only works when someone's reading the minutes, because there's no emotion to them,
Mm-hmm.
You might be right.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. It's metaphor.
That's why we call him Mattaphor.
That's all I had.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think too of that book. I read it early in my listening to Mike Mandel's podcast years ago, Instant Influence by Michael Pantalon. It made me such a better communicator. Just the idea of, like, that anytime you are, there's something that somebody should do, you can't say the word should. And I became sensitive to that word a really long time ago, in like 2011 or something, from studying Byron Katie's work. It made me aware of that word should, how should is, that is just this wasted power. And it literally puts it, you're just sapping your own power. So if somebody else should do something, or even you should do something, it's like, either do it or you can't should for anyone else. There is no should. So
the word is steeped in judgment.
Yeah. And anytime somebody hears it, I think that's stoking their autonomy. And then that's when they want to double down and, really be right. And that breaks rapport, takes us out of that default state of trust that we actually have with each other as fellow humans. And so yeah. Oh, my mom just left that nice little comment. Yeah. So that book helped me be more aware of, how to communicate things to people, clients, but also just in life, to open their mind and to make them see from my perspective a little bit more. And that is what we're always maybe should be doing without using the word should. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to say in addition to that.
Well, when you talk about digging in, there's neuroscience behind that, and that's I can't quote it exactly, but it's in that it's in the book Sleights of Mind, and for those that don't know, that book it's about these two neuroscientists, maybe there's three, who study magicians and mentalists and illusionists to see why they keep fooling us, and it's just fascinating. So everything that that science is coming to know, that they've known for a couple hundred years. And one thing is that there's something in our brain. It wasn't specified conscious or subconscious mind, but I think it was just said the brain that will go to any cost to protect autonomy. So there was an example where there was these people in I don't know how to. They just recently had an amputation, and so there was a lot of phantom limb things going on, and one person said insisted that they had two hands, and then the person, I guess the therapist or the person talking said, okay, well, I only see one hand, and he's looking right down at his lap where there's no hand. And he says, well, I got two hands. They're right there. And he said, all right, well, can you clap? And then the guy goes, yeah. And he just does this. He said, well, I don't hear anything. And then the patient said, I don't know what to tell you. I'm clapping, and that's and there it is, like right in front of them. Nothing's reason, that hand's not hitting anything. It's just doing this. And so when we break rapport and then try to say no, and then try and argue, then that people dig in even when you're right. I'm air quoting, even if you're right. So I think that's why that whomever said that, it's like, do you want to be right or you want to be effective? I think that really sent it home for me. So
awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation, and I think we can end it actually shortly if you don't have anything else to add. I did want to end on the Maya Angelou quote, which is, people will forget what you said, forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And I think that is what's happening all the time in conversation. All of the words are unconsciously processed. And so when you're using your words, make those beautiful pictures in people's minds that are going to inform all of their perceptions and make good associations and good feelings in their body. So then we can just stay in that default state of trust.
Again.
Awesome. So, yeah, thank you.
It's one of my very first clients ever, Nicole Renee. Thanks, Nicole. She's going to be my personal trainer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, okay. Well, yeah, we should do another one of these. anyone watching want to have a chat with me too, this again, props to Marion for for introducing me to this software. It's really fun. So I'm down to have.
Thank you, Marion.
And I think Matt and I, we should have another one about metaphors soon. What do you say?
We should do it like every hour. We should do one
every hour. Yeah, I'm down. All right, so we'll just start again in a few minutes. Okay.
Okay. How do you end this thing then?
I'll just click end, so no worries. Oh yeah, and if do you have do you want to tell people how to get in touch with you, or I can include in the replay of this, I'll include your links to your maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just find me on Facebook. My profile is totally public.
Good.
I'm an open book, so
yeah,
friend me and I'll friend you back.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, we'll end it there, and be good, unwitting hypnotists out there in the world, because we always are. And bye. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Callie. Oh, I